Listeners, NerdWallet wants you to let them do the work for you. Looking for auto insurance? The Nerds will match you with top providers in your area in just a few questions. So getting the right rate for you is as simple as going to nerdwallet.com. After all, letting NerdWallet do the work is more than smart. It's genius. Not all applicants will qualify for the lowest monthly payments. NerdWallet Insurance Services Incorporated. California resident license number OK92033. DirecTV is a better way to watch whatever you want to watch. We all know the frustration and confusion that comes from endlessly scrolling, trying to find your favorite shows. DirecTV brings together your live TV and apps into one home screen, helping you avoid the hassle of plugging in passwords again and again or wasting time searching for what to watch across platforms. With DirecTV, you spend more time watching and less time searching for your show. Sign up for DirecTV today at directtv.com. Your actions have to match your words. Your energy has to match the level you say you want to be at. You have to live as if the blessing is already upon you. Because, by the way, blessings always are. Hi, I'm Rachel, and in this show, we talk about everything. Life and work, health and healing, relationships with others and with ourselves. These are stories for the seekers. These are conversations for the curious. This is the Rachel Hollis Podcast. Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to another episode of the podcast and an audiobook chapter from What If You Are the Answer? Because y'all are a listening kind of audience, and I assume if you regularly listen to the podcast, you will also like the audiobook, but I wanted you to have a sneak peek. I wanted you to know what you were getting into before you use your Audible token or before you listen to this on Spotify, in the hopes that if you dig it, you will grab the audiobook and take it with you on the road. I hope that you absolutely love it, and if you do, will you please consider sharing this with someone that you think might dig it too? And now, the audio chapter from What If You Are the Answer? Hey y'all, jumping in here real quick before you listen to the audio chapter to let you know about something that happens at the end. When producer Jack and I were coming up with which audio chapter to share, I realized that we had a really good podcast episode that took a deeper dive on this topic. So in the audio chapter, I'm talking about what we attract to our lives, what we manifest, whether we realize it or not. But I don't really go deeper into how to intentionally manifest. And I know y'all, and I know that's the question that I'm going to get in the next round of Ask Rach episodes. So to cut that off at the pass, I thought we just go ahead and share the content right here all in one. So the first part of today's episode is an audio chapter, which I hope that you're going to love. And the second part is a podcast we have called 11 Ways to Manifest Faster and Attract More Goodness, which just is fabulous. So you can listen to one or both, but I wanted you to have them all in one spot. Let's go. What are you attracting? Once upon a time, my company and the team that supported it were much larger. We had the most darling office in West Austin, filled with such incredible personalities and energy that just walking through the door in the morning made me happy. At the time, the team was constantly expanding. It seemed every time I would leave on a business trip, I would come back to discover a new person who had joined our motley crew in my absence. With so much growth, it was important to have a touchstone to hold on to at least one thing that would remain the same despite the change that was constantly present in a startup culture. That one thing was our team meeting. Once a week, we'd gather for a team meeting that always began with a gratitude share, and then inevitably moved to the goals we were working toward as a group. When we began to work from home during the pandemic, we kept this tradition alive by moving our team meeting to one giant Zoom call, which made it fun to see everyone's home decor style, or in the case of some of the single guys on our production team, a shocking lack thereof. It was on one of those Zoom calls where we found ourselves discussing goal setting, a theme in the content we were creating that week. I asked members of the group to share if they had any personal goals they were working on. Tish, a young woman on the marketing team, offered her intention. Well, I'd really like to manifest more. I want to get into that. I don't manifest at all right now, and I'd like to make that something I try. Now, as her mentor, I absolutely loved this vision she had. But as the person who had been teaching on ideas surrounding the law of attraction and manifesting on the podcast and keynotes and in my writing, all of which she'd consumed, I realized I had missed a key element as a teacher. Tish, and therefore probably loads of other people I'd talked to about this concept, didn't understand a crucial element. You can't start manifesting or stop manifesting. You simply are manifesting. You are constantly attracting things to your life, both good and bad, whether you want to or not. Now, let's back up and allow me to explain in case manifesting is not something you're already familiar with. Back in the early 2000s, a woman named Rhonda Byrne came out with a book called The Secret. I was 13 at the time, so my only knowledge of the book or its contents was inside an episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show, obviously, you guys. I'm fairly certain I wasn't allowed to watch that episode because whatever The Secret was, it wasn't in the Bible, and so my parents didn't trust it. It wasn't until decades later that I happened to see The Secret movie, which was on YouTube, and I think still is, where you could watch it for free. The production quality of the movie notwithstanding, there are perspectives and ideas in it I'd never heard before, the most notable of which was the concept of the law of attraction. Full disclosure, I actually don't love a lot of the angles the experts in that documentary use, since many of them focus almost exclusively on wealth, which just ends up feeling a bit creepy. But their explanation of manifesting and attraction and raising your vibration is right on. That documentary, with its cheesy cutaways to the Knights Templar over a dramatic orchestral soundtrack, is a fantastic jumping-off point if you've never heard about the topic before. And I will forgive the cheese and even the hard sell on becoming a millionaire because it was a documentary film from 2006, and well, it could have been much worse. What that particular movie did for me was give me language for something I'd never known how to explain. If you looked at the full story of my family of origin, the place I grew up, the environment I was raised in, and the constant trauma of the first 16 years of my life, none of what came after it makes any sense at all. Nothing in my formative years seemed to point toward the life I live today. Not the career success or the financial, not the healthy relationship with myself, my partner, or my children. I had no example of any of these things. But if you asked me to explain it, or pick one single thing that contributed to my success the most, it's my imagination. Seriously. For as far back as I have memory, I have been a daydreamer. I'm guessing this is something I developed very early on as a coping mechanism, a means of escaping reality and taking myself somewhere else. As a very young girl, the escape was inside of fairy tales or the books I read. But when I became a teenager and started to learn more about the world, the place I took myself to in my mind was a real one: Los Angeles. I grew up 2 hours north and a world away from Los Angeles. But as soon as I knew it existed, I thought about it obsessively. From the time I was 12 until I left home at 17, it was a single thought in my mind every single day of my life. I imagined where I would live and what I would do for a job to afford my cool Hollywood apartment. I imagined life soon and life 10 years from now. I pored over magazines and devoured TV shows. The internet didn't really exist properly yet, kids. I surrounded myself with cutouts taped to the wall. I wrote about LA in the pages of my journal and talked about it constantly with my friends. Every time life got especially hard, which was often enough, I would take myself out of the situation into my imagination. I ended up graduating from high school a year early, and since both my parents had stopped being interested in parenting long before that, nobody fought me when I said I was saving up my money to move to LA. Before I was 18 years old, I had an apartment in Hollywood, multiple crappy jobs to help support myself, and an internship at Miramax Films, one of the absolute hardest gigs to land, despite the fact that I was underage and didn't have a college degree. While none of the years that followed were a breeze, in hindsight, there were moments in time where I really was in the exact right place at the exact right time, and I had enough meager skill to raise my hand for the chance to try. Every single opportunity, failure or success, felt so independent from one another at the time. But looking back, I can see how they all stacked on top of one another to get me where I am today. And it all started with that big move to LA. A big move to LA precipitated by a full decade of daydreaming about doing just that. What I didn't understand at the time is that what I would call daydreaming and imagination was actually laser-focused intention that would help me figure out how to make my dreams a reality. I manifested that destiny because I simply refused to see anything but that. Every road I traveled, every door I walked through was only ever leading one place, because I only seemed to notice the little opportunities that led to my desired destination. That is, at its most basic level, the concept of the law of attraction. It's the idea that anyone can attract something into their life by focusing on it with intention. But this really only tells a small part of a much bigger story. The law of attraction says that you can attract what you want. But, as Dr. Wayne Dyer once explained so perfectly, you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. Energetically, each and every one of us functions at different levels of vibrational output. This part isn't woo-woo hippie stuff. I'll get to that in a minute. This is quantum physics. We're all putting out different levels of vibrational energy, and I don't care how much you buy into this or not, you have to admit that you've experienced this yourself. If you walk into an elevator and the person inside of it is joyful and happy and having a fantastic day, it feels very different than getting into the elevator with someone who's pissed off and seething. In fact, the person in the elevator doesn't have to say anything to you. You can sense that the joyful person is joyful, and you can feel when you've just encountered someone who's ready to explode. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you can sense that? It's because we radiate our emotions. In both examples I gave, the emotions are at extreme ends of the spectrum, so they're easy for almost anyone to pick up on, but even the duller emotions like apathy or boredom have their own energetic signatures. Now, again with the science, every single thing in this world, solar system, universe, is made up of energy, period. When you break things down to their most basic elements, it's all energy. We are made up of atoms. Atoms are made up of protons and neutrons, and at the center of it all is pure energy. Energy is the core of everything, which is why you'll hear so many wise teachers and gurus say that we are all connected and all the same. The only difference between me and an oak tree is the way the energy orients itself. And also, one of us has far more junk in their trunk. If we are energy, and our thoughts and emotions can be detected and measured as energy as they leave our body, it explains why like attracts like. Have you ever been having a great morning, and it seems to get better as the day goes on? Something nice happens. A kind driver lets you into traffic during rush hour, and while it's a simple courtesy, it brightens your day because that on-ramp is usually really stressful. What luck! The easy on-ramp means you've got a little extra time to stop for coffee, and while you order, you chat happily with the barista. She seems to be in a great mood too, and when she compliments your favorite earrings, it perks you up even more. Now you're chuffed up and feeling really great when you realize that they did an absolutely perfect job on the ratios of your oat milk cappuccino, which rarely happens. What a time to be alive! The remaining drive to work is a breeze because your favorite song from high school comes on in the last 10 minutes. And even though, as a feminist, you know you shouldn't be enjoying the words to the Yin Yang Twins quite this much, you crank the music in the car and scream every word. Y'all skeet, 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 skeet. The reverse is also true. We've all had a day that goes from bad to worse. The fact that from bad to worse is an expression just proves it. Now, back to my young colleague and her desire to manifest more. The goal can't be to manifest more because you already are doing that simply by existing. The goal, then, is to manifest and attract things to us with intention. I have a family member who's always sick. Always. If it's not a cold, it's the flu. If it's not the flu, her allergies are acting up, or she's having an extreme reaction to her lactose intolerance, or the person at the next table has on cologne that's too strong and it's making her nauseous. There's always something ailing her. When she's not sick, she spends all her time worrying about when she will get sick again. The energy, vibration, focus of her mind, body, and spirit has been set to illness for decades. She has long since decided that she's cursed with a bad immune system and destined for a life of disease. I genuinely worry that each medical anomaly will continue to grow in severity until she attracts something that will kill her. There is nothing more powerful than the thoughts we think and the energy we attach to them. All she focuses on is sickness, and since our minds tell our body what is real, I'm positive she's actively weakening her immune system. Couple that with the fact that the message she sends to the universe is, I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get sick. The universe, however, is only responding to her vibrational energy and her focus. The universe doesn't hear, I don't want to. It feels the vibration of her fear and worry, very low-level vibrations to attract, and it gets the focus of her attention. Sick, sick, sick. Now we're into the woo-woo hippie stuff. The same is true for our romantic partners, our jobs, and our circle of friends. In life, there are freak moments. Accidents occur. Shit happens. But our consistent themes, the scenarios that play out again and again, those are never flukes, or luck, or destiny. Those are something you've got to take responsibility for. The fact that you keep dating men who are emotionally unavailable, and no matter how great they seem at the beginning, they end up running off with your cousin or stealing your car, one of those is a fluke. 3 times and it's a pattern, of which you are the only variable that doesn't change. I think you guys know this, but in case you don't, my happy place is on the beach. Actually, that's not enough. My happy place is on the beach with an iced coffee in my hand. What a vibe. There are a lot of beaches out there, but there's only one people call the beach. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, is made up of 14 coastal communities and 60 miles of sunny beaches. Together, they create a place that makes you feel like you belong. Shine and dine in a foodie haven with oceanfront patios, fresh seafood, low country classics, and southern favorites. Plus, my favorite, you can listen to live music any day of the year, outside at laid-back beach bars, at world-renowned theaters, or right on the boardwalk. You belong at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Plan your trip to the beach at visitmyrtlebeach.com. Look, everyone knows that toilet paper is not created equal. Not all rolls are the same. Some are too soft. Some, can we say, sort of crumble, if you know what I'm saying. Then other toilet paper is so strong that it can actually hurt. And let's not even talk about the toilet paper that is so thin, it doesn't get the job done. Angel Soft is soft and strong and always affordable. Come on, life is too short. There's too much going on. I don't want to have to overthink this. So pick up a pack of Angel Soft in the toilet paper aisle of your nearest retailer. That's Angel Soft, soft and strong. Simple. The question is not, why are some men such trash? Though, honestly, if you found out why, please let me know. The question is, what belief or psychology or hurt inside of you causes you to put out that level of vibration? Please don't let this guy be garbage. Please don't let this guy be garbage. Be garbage. Please don't let this guy be. The vibration is fear, disgust, worry, anxiety. The list of low energy is extensive, and the focus is guy plus garbage. The obsession over what you don't want will always attract more of the same. So then, in order to manifest what we actually want in life, we must raise our vibrational level to the vibrational level of what we want. You want an incredible partner? Then make yourself an incredible partner. You want to attract more joy in your life? Curate joy. Watch funny movies, go to the dog park, do things that make you happy every day. You want more abundance? Stop living in scarcity. You want more health? Stop messing with things that make you sick. Your actions have to match your words. Your energy has to match the level you say you want to be at. You have to live as if the blessing is already upon you, because, by the way, blessings always are. There are a million teachers much smarter than me who can teach you about this. Wayne Dyer, I mentioned earlier, and Abraham Hicks are 2 of my favorite authors on the subject if you want to take a deep dive. But before you jump into those questions, ask yourself this one. What are you attracting to your life? The law of attraction, manifesting things, woo-woo, hippie, all of it, we're taking a dive today. This comes on the heels of so many people requesting this topic in the podcast hotline. I've done quite a few episodes on the subject of my perspective of the law of attraction and my perspective on manifesting. I know that these topics have become such buzzwords over the last few years, but I really see this so clearly in my life, whether it's the kind of friends that you have, the kind of partner that you attract, the kind of work that you do, whether you experience success in the projects that you work on or failure. I see this in so many ways in my life. And I figured if you guys are into this topic, you would be like me and you would take all of the conversation around it you can get. And if you're not into this topic, if you haven't really ever heard it before, then I hope today's episode gives you some things to chew on and maybe a different perspective, or maybe just different vernacular around the idea. I grew up and I didn't have these words. I'd never heard someone say the law of attraction or vibration or any of that. So I didn't have words for what was happening in my life, but I could see it so clearly. And later, when I was a grown-up and I started reading more and I did get those words, a lot of things sort of clicked into place for me. So I thought that's what we do today. And a really cool thing about this episode is that it has a PDF. It has a PDF download. If you have signed up for my email list, then you already know, but just in case you haven't, I'm going to give you a little detail on it. Every Sunday, I send out an email. I have done this for, oh my gosh, 8 years, 10 years, just like a very long time. We've got several 100,000 people who sign up for the email. We've got an incredible open rate. If you're in marketing circles, you know what that means. It means a lot of people open the email and actually read it, not just get it delivered to them. And I think that happens because it really is a note from me. I assume most of you are here because you like my communication style, or maybe you've read my books and you like how I write. And so I'm guessing that the audience continues to open the emails because they like to read my writing, I think. But every Sunday, send out an email, and it can be about anything and everything. I've done what I made for my Saturday dinner for my kids. I've done, here's the workout that I'm doing. Here's like a health thing that I've learned. Here's 3 books that are really helping me this season. Like, it's a bit of kind of whatever is on my heart to talk to you guys about each week. It comes out every Sunday, and I'm going to put a link in the show description. If you have not signed up, you totally should. And the reason I'm talking about email is that when you sign up for my email, the gift, my thank you for being part of my community, is a PDF called 16 Ways to Manifest Faster, which is why this episode is called 11 Ways to Manifest Faster, because I got to leave some nuggets in the PDF, so you want to go grab it. The PDF will take you on a deeper dive. It has links to some favorite books that I really recommend if you're interested in the subject. Totally free, obviously, but yeah, you can go sign up through the link in the show description. But today I thought it would be cool to just go through verbally some of the things that I've shared in that PDF, because I've never done that before. Talked a lot about this subject, but I don't think that I've ever done a podcast episode about how to bring things about in a faster way. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm actually going to use the PDF that I wrote as a guidebook to talk to you about this thing. So I thought it would be cool if, just like in Ask Rach, I didn't write out a whole huge narrative for you guys, but we just talked. Like, I just shared my thoughts on each one of these. And they're all really good, and I hope you dig it. And yeah, let's jump in. All right, before we get into this conversation, it behooves me to just do a little bit of an explanation on the law of attraction and manifesting, and how I see those as 2 very closely related sisters, but not twins. All right, they're related to each other, but they're not exactly alike. And this is from my perspective. There are incredible teachers, incredible writers, gurus, mystics, like all kinds of incredible people who probably will describe this in a much wiser way than I am. But I think if I have one ability when it comes to communicating, I like to think that I can take sort of these bigger topics and explain them to someone who's never heard them before. I think that's what I'm good at. You guys could be like, we just like your shirt, and that's why we keep showing up, to see you sit crisscross applesauce and talk to us about life. Whatever you're here for, let me just give you my perspective on these 2 things. The very first time I heard the words law of attraction was when Oprah talked about The Secret on the Oprah Winfrey Show when I was a kid. And I remember really clearly that episode, but I also remember thinking that maybe this was a subject I shouldn't be listening to. I grew up in a very religious house and family and culture, and anything that was not part of our religion was considered evil and wrong and scary. And so I had a lot of stories in my head about what would happen to me if I were to consume content, if I were to listen to someone who was not maybe our church preacher talk about basically anything. But I remember that episode years and years later. I would watch the documentary about The Secret, which is on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. And it is very cheesy. I will just say that. It's very cheesy. But there was also a ton of ideas in that I was just like, I was having, I'm going to reference Oprah again, but like an aha moment, like one after another. It was like a light bulb going off, like, oh my gosh, I do that. I do that thing that these people are talking about, which was visualizing what you want to happen and then finding yourself in a situation where all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm living this experience that I have seen so many times in my imagination. This is my story going back all the way to my childhood. And I think that I developed this incredibly vivid imagination as a coping mechanism. I don't know if this is true for everybody. Those of you who have really vivid imaginations, I don't know if you feel the same way. But for me, it was how I coped with my family life. I was in an environment that was not always safe, that very often was scary. I had a lot of chaos in my family home. I had a parent with a violent temper. There was a lot of sort of tiptoeing and trying to make sure that, is everyone okay today? Am I going to be safe today? There were a lot of negative things that came out of that experience. Obviously, no little kid should have to live through that. But I am someone who looks for the good in hard situations. And one of the things, even if it is a coping mechanism, one of the good things that came out of that trauma was that I would go into my room, which was sort of the only place that I could like get away from the chaos. I would go to my room and I would daydream. I would look at it and go, man, I was really sort of taking myself out of my body, kind of like out of the experience, because I was trying to escape where I was. I didn't know that at the time. At the time, I would just imagine, oh, this is exactly what my house is going to look like when I'm a grown-up. And this is what it'll be like to be in charge of my own life. And this is what it'll feel like when I'm in my first apartment and nobody is screaming. You know, this is what it'll be like to not have to listen to people fight all the time. This is what it'll feel like when I drive to my new job on my first day in LA. I live 2 hours away from LA. So LA became this obsession of mine to daydream about. And I just over and over and over in vivid detail to pull myself out of where I was. And I did it very distinctly. I remember doing it in school. I would daydream in school when I was in high school, which is when things got really bad. My brother took his own life when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school, and my high school career was colored by that in so many ways. Obviously, I was dealing with post-traumatic stress from that experience, but I also lived in a small town, and I felt the stigma of that in this very conservative and small town. I'm telling you all of that to tell you that high school sucked, and I spent a very good amount of time just imagining what it would be like when I was not in this place anymore. Obsessively thinking about it over and over and over. And when I was not even 18 years old, I graduated high school a year early because all I could think about was just like getting to LA. I find myself in LA, not even 18 years old, with an apartment, enrolled in an acting conservatory because I thought I wanted to be an actress, living in this apartment in Hollywood, going to school. And really, it was the first big moment in my life where I found myself living something I had dreamed about 1,000 times. And I guess that gave me a fair amount of confidence that I could try things and maybe they would work out and maybe they wouldn't, but that I felt very confident if I just kept focus on what I wanted and I kept dreaming and I kept trying, that like I would find my way forward. And I have so many experiences, you guys, of being in the exact right place at the exact right time and getting things that could only be, now I'm like, oh, I manifested the shit out of that. But at the time, I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. So like a very real experience of this. I'm at this point 18 years old, living in LA, going to school, and I wanted to work at Miramax Films. This is 2000, might have been 2001, early 2001. And as much as Miramax imploded and the Weinsteins are monsters, back then, there was no place in LA. If you wanted to work in movies, there was no place you wanted to work more than at Miramax. It was a huge deal. It was a very hard job to get. And remember, I'm 18 years old. I go on their website. It's, 2000, early 2001. So websites are super clunky and weird. I find the place where you can apply to be an intern. I really want to get an internship. I apply through the normal methods, but also your girl is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and so naive. Just like, I have no idea how the industry works. And I do something that you should never do and that never works, except this one time when it did work. I write a letter. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Look, going to therapy, it's a big investment. And I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about time and energy and emotions. But if you're going to put this much effort into taking care of your physical health, it stands to reason that you should put just as much effort into making sure your mental health is great too. So let's talk numbers. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, and that adds up. But with BetterHelp online therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. Therapy should feel accessible to everyone, not just a luxury. With online therapy, you can get quality care at a price that makes sense. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/Rach to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Rach. If you've ever learned about nutrition in a way that you didn't know before, and suddenly you're way more thoughtful about what your food is made with, what's on the back of the label, it can be really confusing when you're first starting out to understand what means what you should buy for your family, and what you should leave at the store. Well, now you can spend less time at the grocery store thanks to Thrive Market, your new go-to online grocery store for getting all of your healthy essentials delivered. With over 1,000 harmful ingredients banned from their store, Thrive Market's team of product researchers do the hard work so you don't have to spend all of your time trying to figure out what is in the food you are ordering. Finding better options for your whole family is super easy with Thrive Market's Healthy Swap Scanner. You can scan a product you already have and it instantly recommends healthier items. Ready to make the switch? Go to thrivemarket.com/Rach for 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/Rach. thrivemarket.com/Rach. I write a letter, like a to whom it may concern letter, to the HR department, like whoever's going to potentially interview me for this internship. And I send it. I don't have a person to send it to. I send it to like Miramax Films, 8439, if I'm not mistaken, Sunset Boulevard, West Hollywood. Like, I just send this letter, attention HR human. I get a notification back a couple weeks later from the website, like, thank you, but you're not qualified. What, it was nice, but it was just like, thank you, but no thank you. And I'm like super bummed. And I find this crazy because I was so sure I was going to get this internship. So positive. And if you read Girl Wash Your Face, then you know a big reason I wanted that internship was because Good Will Hunting had come out. I was in love with Matt Damon, and I was pretty sure that if I worked at Miramax, Matt Damon would discover me and then immediately ask me to marry him. And that was my big life plan, guys. And you think I'm joking. I'm not joking. Sometimes the most ridiculous daydreams that you can imagine are just to get you a little bit further down the path. It doesn't have to make sense to other people. In fact, you shouldn't even tell your crazy ideas to other people. You should just allow yourself to have them and feel them to get yourself closer to where you want to go. And this was like my big plan was I'm going to work at Miramax. I'm going to marry Matt Damon. So I get the no thank you from the HR department. I'm bummed because I really felt like that was possible. But I keep just imagining, no, I just can't. Like, okay, maybe not this path. There must be another way. I just keep thinking about Miramax. And I get a phone call, must have been a couple weeks later, from Mark Gill's office, which means nothing to you guys. But at the time, Mark Gill was the president of Miramax's West Coast office. He was the highest level you could be in Los Angeles. It was his assistant. And she says, hey, would you come in for an interview? We need an intern. We'd like you to come in for an interview. And I'm tripping out because I'm like, wow, the HR team told me they weren't interested. Yeah, of course, I'll come in. Like, let me know when. And she's like, yeah, it's the craziest thing. I don't know how, but you wrote a letter and it got on Mark's desk. And Mark read your letter and Mark has asked for you to come in. Y'all. What I know, I'm going to guess most of you have not worked in the entertainment industry, but trust me when I tell you that sequence does not happen unless a freaking guardian angel went in and just like dropped that in front of this person. It doesn't magically, like no one in the mailroom is like taking a random letter from some 18-year-old girl and putting it on this person's desk. I go in for the interview. I get the job. I start my career. I end up getting a job as an assistant at Miramax. I drop out of school. It is such a catalyst for everything that came after. Nothing about that makes sense. I'm telling you, people go to college, like very expensive colleges, to get very expensive degrees to get the job, the assistant job that I just walked into. It doesn't make sense unless you understand that this life that we're living is a creation. I believe that we are creating with something divine. We are creating with, you can call it God, you can call it source, you can call it energy, you can call it light. There's lots of different terms for this thing. I believe in it all. And I think that this is about us creating with something divine. I know that we are all energy. We are all made up of energy. Every single this table in front of me, the chair I'm sitting on, me, the phone you're holding, like everything is energy. And science has proven in so many ways that humans have the ability to affect and manipulate energy. Quantum physics is based on this idea. So if you can, for sure, it's scientifically proven that you can affect energy, why wouldn't you be able to affect energy on any level? Why wouldn't you be able to create something in your life? Why wouldn't you be able to attract a partner that is beyond your wildest dreams, an amazing human for you to share this life with? Why wouldn't you be able to bring into your life a great circle of friends? Why wouldn't you be able to land your dream job? Why wouldn't you be able to have healing inside these bodies? Do you know that medicine has recorded so many instances of things that they call, quote, miraculous healing? There's no explanation for it. Someone has a terminal illness, miraculous healing, they wake up and it's gone. And there's no way to explain it, so they just say, well, it's a miracle. And I believe in a God that can perform miracles. It's all the same thing. If you study this, don't listen to me. Go study it, go read. And if you're someone who's like, well, I need the data, go read about quantum physics and what it looks like when that becomes corporal, when that becomes something real, when we bring things into our life. Don't take my word for it. There's so many people who can speak to this better. But if you're like, okay, I was already here, or okay, now I'm vaguely interested in what this would look like in my life, why wouldn't I want to believe in a world where I have control over what comes in and out of my life? We cannot control what life throws at us, but we can control our response to it. And our response to something is what makes it possible for what we do want to take up more space. So this is how it has shown up in my life, but I told you that I believe law of attraction and manifesting are two completely different things. Here's how I believe it works. Law of attraction says that we attract things into our lives. If you don't believe it's true, you are not paying attention. You're not paying attention to your life, or maybe you're too close to your life. You can't possibly consider how this is true. Let's not look at your life. Let's look at your sister's life or your cousin. I want you to think of anybody else that you know, and you know them pretty well. You know the other people who are in their life. Maybe it's a coworker or a bestie. You know their partner or their kids or their job. I want you to think of 2 or 3 people in your life that you know, and you know all of those components, okay? Get them in your mind and just think through for a minute. Think of, there's your aunt and uncle, them, their adult children. They've got those dogs and they do this thing and this is where they go on their date night and this is their vacation. Just think of some people whose lives you know. Now be real. Be real. When you think of those people, is there anything in their life, job, partner, children, friends, community, that happens consistently? So these are things that have been there for a while that you look at and you're like, well, that makes no damn sense. Do you know anyone who has people, places, things in their life consistently that it doesn't make sense why that person has that thing? Meaning, do you have a bestie who is freaking incredible and their partner is absolute garbage and you're confused about why? Do you have your aunt with her adult children and all 3 of those kids have struggled so much, can't hold down a job, all 3 of them. They have these problems, they have these issues, and you're like, I don't get it. I don't know what happened with Carol's kids. If you are being honest with yourself, you don't know one person well who has their life consistently that you are confused about why those things are in their life. Your bestie that you love more than anything, who has the trash partner, you're like, no, Rach, she's so great. It doesn't make sense that he's not great. Well, he's not great because if you're being honest with yourself, your best friend, while being awesome, has a ton of insecurity and doesn't know her own worth. So she attracts people who fit the mold of that. I don't know one person, if I look at my family, my friends, every person I know well, and I'll be like, gosh, man, this really sucks. I don't know. That's so sad that she's going through this thing. I wish I could help. Every single person that I look at, if I'm being real, if I take a step back and remove emotion from it, I'm like, oh, well, actually, I know exactly why they're experiencing that. I know exactly why Becky's going through this thing, because she goes through this thing every 14 months. Every 14 months, this is her cycle. She does the same thing over and over. Law of attraction is that we attract into our life. Nothing in your life is there on accident. Nothing. Your friends who take advantage of you, or your partner who's freaking amazing. You're so in love. You feel so freaking lucky. Like, whether it's good or it's bad, you brought it there. You brought it there by what you believe about yourself, what you believe about other people, the energy that you put out into the world. That's what attracts things to you. And when you get this, when you understand that you are attracting these things into your life, I hope it makes you go, holy crap, I need to be more careful. I need to be more thoughtful about how I am showing up so that I can experience more of the kind of life I say I want to have. Y'all, I have said this in parenting episodes, in health episodes, in work episodes, in every part of life that I can talk about with you. It is never about the external. If you want to experience a better life, it is never going to be about things outside yourself. If you want to experience a better life, you change yourself. Because if you change yourself, if you raise your vibrational level, if you are coming at this life with more energy, with more vitality, with more promise, with more hope, it is impossible for you to have a partner who's trash. It's impossible for you to keep with your girlfriend who keeps cheating on you, who is a narcissist, who is bad on 50 levels. The only way that you can be with someone who's not a good person is because of something inside of you. Whether it's that you don't believe you deserve someone at that level, or deep down you think that like, oh, well, I'm a bad person too. And so that even if it's subconscious, in fact, most of the time it's subconscious, I am telling you, if you want to change the outside, you change the inside. Law of attraction is this idea that we attract into our life. Nothing is here on accident, which means you got to take a whole hell of a lot of ownership of the experience that you're having right now. That's law of attraction. Manifesting is the idea that you can make something come into being. You can make a relationship. You can make a dream job. You can make being debt-free. You can make those things. You can manifest them. You can make them real. One of my favorite quotes on manifesting that I have said probably 50 times on this show is from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who said, "We do not manifest what we want. We manifest what we are." Which again goes back to this idea that it is all about what is happening inside of you that affects the outside. You want to have a happier life? Feel happier. Change what's going on in here so that what's reflected outside of yourself becomes what's reflected inside of yourself. I was watching Ron Howard teach a masterclass. I'm really into masterclass. I've been watching like all of them. And I love Ron Howard movies, so I was watching him talk about directing. And he tells a story about his wife who was going to college. I think she was becoming a psychologist. And as part of her graduation from college, she had to run an experiment that had something to do with psychology. And at the time, this was many years ago, the general belief about psychology was that someone couldn't truly affect their own emotions in a way that was readable on a scale. I am positive I'm butchering this story. Go watch the masterclass if you want the real deal. But that there was some machine that could see with sensors, this is what you register at when you're happy. This is what you register at when you're sad. This is what you register at when you're pissed. And the belief was that no human could actually truly get there. You could sort of fake that you're mad or fake that you're happy, but that it wouldn't be effective on this meter. And she was telling him her idea to test this. And he was like, oh, I actually disagree. I think humans can totally do that because I've seen actors do it. And, you know, Ron Howard was an actor when he was a little boy, and then he became a director. And he was like, I bet if you tested it on actors, you'd be surprised. So they run this experiment, 20 regular people, 20 actors. 3 of the regular people could actually affect their emotions in a way that got them to that emotional state. 17 of the actors could at will register anywhere that machine needed them to go, could get themselves to devastation, could get themselves to elation, could get themselves to anger, could get themselves to fear, because they had studied acting and done this for so long. And I found this fascinating. He's telling this story because he's talking about how incredible actors are. I heard it and I was like, dude, how does no one ever run an experiment on actors and the law of attraction, or actors and vibration? Because hopefully we all get to a place where we can do this. But if you have this skill set where you can affect your internal emotions, it means that you can affect the overall quality of your life. If you could do something right now, and P.S., you totally can. If you could do something right now that would make you feel so excited and so happy and so full of love and so full of gratitude, if you could do that right now, why wouldn't you? What if you could do that 5 times a day? What if you could do that so that you fake it till you make it, till you actually find that it is more normal for you to feel at peace. It is more normal for you to feel contentment. It is more normal for you to feel happiness or joy than it is for you to feel the old emotions you used to dwell in. Anxiety, fear, anger, bitterness. If you can control that internal world, I swear to you, you will affect the outer world. And maybe you're like, why does this matter? Well, it matters. Well, number one, it matters because that's just a better quality of life. But my instinct is that you're listening to this episode because you would like to bring more things into your life. You have some ideas about what you would like to have in your life, whatever it is, and you'd like to bring that into your life. So if you understood that you don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are, then you would realize that the reason you've got a life that's filled with some things that are kind of sucky right now, like, oh yeah, this person's my friend, but I don't really like them and they mostly stress me out. And again, I go back to the idea that if you change who you are on the inside, it is impossible for you to be in a relationship with someone like that on the outside. I hope I have adequately explained law of attraction, manifesting, bringing things into your life. Now, as promised, let's jump into the list. How can you manifest faster? Number 1, pay attention to the words you say. Pay attention to the words you say. I'm going to quote Wayne Dyer again, who said in one of his books, I can't remember which one, I am are divine words. Those are God words. In the tradition that I grew up in, I am that I am. Be still and know that I am. There's scripture around this idea that God says, I am. So in your life, be very careful about any word that you use after I am. I am sad. I am fat. I am bored. I am dumb. I am too young. I'm too old. I'm not pretty enough. The words that follow I am is self-proclamation. It's not a throwaway. Even, I'm sick. Don't say I'm sick. Say I'm in the process of healing. Don't say I'm tired. Say something empowering. Say, man, I used up a ton of energy today. Like I've really done a good job showing up today and I'm feeling it. It might seem silly. It might seem like semantics, but the words we say matter. How about this? How many of you who are single sit around with your friends and talk about how all the men on the dating apps are idiots, they ghost you, they're just there for one thing, nobody wants a real relationship? How many of you sit around with your friends and affirm that there's no partner out there for you. You're never going to find the right one. You affirm all of the things you don't want to be true by talking about it. By talking about it over and over and over, you put more energy into the idea that your reality as you experience it right now is all it will ever be. Sit around with your friends and talk about what could be. Sit around with your friends and describe your dream partner. Sit around with your friends and daydream about what it'll be like when you have all met the loves of your life. Why would you ever sit around and talk crap about all of these people you don't want? The universe wants to be in creation with you. And what you focus on, you create. So many people think that they're, where is my person? Where is my person? Where is my person? Like, Rachel, I am focusing on it. No, you're not focusing on it. You're actually focusing on the absence of having the thing. Focusing on it would be to daydream endlessly about what it will feel like when you're finally in your dream job, what it will feel like when you finally get your first apartment. That's focusing on what you want to create. Many people get the idea in their mind of what would be lovely, but then what they actually spend their time thinking about is how it's not there, how it's not showing up. So pay attention to the words that you use, pay attention to the conversations that you have, because those become the life that you're living. All right, the next one, number 2. I said to pay attention to your words. The other thing is to pay attention to your feelings. Our ability to manifest and bring stuff into our life is about what is our vibrational level. Now, I could spend a full hour talking about vibration and the energy you put out in the world. I have done a lot of episodes about this. You can go back and listen to, there's one where I talk about like 7 things I do to raise my vibration. Go listen to that. But for this conversation, the way you feel really matters, because the way you feel is actually an indication of the level that you are attracting at. If I am focused on all the things that I want to create in my life, and today's going to be a good day, but the feeling inside of me is anxiety or sadness, or I'm pissed off at my sister. If you are in a feeling state that does not feel good, it doesn't matter what your brain is focused on. Whatever your emotions are is the level that you're attracting at. It's why when you're having a phenomenal day, it's your birthday, or you feel like your hair looks fantastic, you're having a really good day, and you seem to interact with a bunch of people who are also having a really good day, I guarantee in the same room, in the same coffee shop, there were also people who were having a horrible day, but you weren't even aware of them. They were not attracted into your sphere because your vibrational level is higher than theirs. So pay attention to your feelings. And I know that seems easier said than done, because you're like, dang, if I could control my feelings, I probably wouldn't be listening to a personal development podcast. One quick thought on that. And you're going to hear this and you're going to think it's too simple. It can't be that simple. And I'm going to tell you that it is. What you think is how you feel. What you think is how you feel. And lately, I keep laughing at this idea that it's, that old saying, like, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Lately, I've been thinking of that, but for thoughts. Like, if you can't think anything nice, don't think anything at all. If you find yourself in an anxious thought pattern, in an angry thought pattern, in any kind of suffering thought pattern, it's time to meditate. Meditation, even if it's a meditation where you have, in yoga, they call it a drishti, your focal point. It's the thing that you stare at so you don't fall over when you're doing a balancing pose. Meditation and clearing your mind, even if all your mind is doing is focusing on a single point so that you can't have racing thoughts, better to think nothing than to think things that aren't nice. What you think is how you feel. Pay attention to your thoughts, because you need to pay attention to your feelings. Visualize with a soundtrack. Visualize with a soundtrack. This is one of my favorite things to do. I told you that imagination is a huge part of why I feel like I have had the success I've had in my life. And emotion really matters because emotion is your vibrational level. Put a playlist together on Spotify or whatever music platform you use. Put a playlist together of songs that make you feel like the world is possible, that make you feel like anything can be true. I don't know why, but Viva La Vida by Coldplay, dun, 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 dun. Like it has that great, like the violins and that beat. And it just makes me, I don't know why, but that's like a really great one for me to visualize to. Anything Can Happen is a great song. There's so many, like if you go on Spotify and you're like songs to manifest to or whatever, I guarantee you'll find some playlists, but find songs that hype you up, but allow you to daydream and use that as a way to raise your vibrational level as you focus and put energy on the thing that you want to attract. Number 4, do something. You got to do something. This is where I think I differ from most advice that you will find on the internet about law of attraction and manifesting. Because if you watch YouTube videos or listen to podcasts, you will find a lot of people who are just like focus, energy, high vibration, wham, all of a sudden it comes to you. And in fact, in the Secret documentary, it's kind of the same thing. There's a lot of this like, you just have to visualize it. And like, if it hasn't come to you, it's because you're doing it wrong. Yes and no. The thing that I feel like is different for me is that you have to meet God halfway. You have to actually do things. You want to be an author? Okay, you're going to have to write the book. You can't just sit around and wait and focus your energy and hope that magically a literary agent's going to call you and offer you a book deal. If you want the thing, you actually have to do work to get yourself there. This conversation is about how you get there faster. How do you manifest faster? Not how do you create something from nothing and you didn't actually do any. Be afraid of any person on the internet who is telling you that you don't have to do anything to change your life. Because even the act of, hey, I'm going to meditate right now so I don't have racing thoughts, or hey, I'm going to listen to music to raise my vibration. Even those are choices that you have to make and actions that you have to take. Earlier, I was like, if you could feel better, if you know that there's something you could do that would make you feel better, why wouldn't you do that? Y'all, we could come up with 100 answers in no time flat for why you and I don't do more things that make us feel better. I know I feel better when I do yoga. Why don't I do that 6 days a week? Because I'm busy, because it takes effort, because I got to drive to a class, because, right, we can come up with all the reasons. So anything that we want to see that's different, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to meet God halfway. So you have to actually do things. Don't believe anybody who tells you different. Mantras. The next thing is mantras. I don't always use mantras. I tend to have reached for them in times of stress or hard seasons where I really needed something to refocus my thoughts on, okay, I know I'm kind of drowning in this fear right now, but the mantra really helped me to establish just a different thought pattern to break up obsessive thinking. The way that I think a mantra works best, at least for me, is to have a mantra that is the opposite of the thing that you're afraid of. Let's say you're like, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke. I don't have any money. My bills are due. I don't know what I'm going to do. You have all of this fear surrounding finances. Some people will say, tell yourself a mantra that's like, I am a magnet for money. I am always attracting money. Money is falling in my lap. That can be incredible, and that can work when you are in a high vibration state. When you are in a low vibration state, which is usually when I need a mantra, it has to be something that resonates as truth. If it doesn't resonate as true, I don't believe it. There's a cognitive dissonance between what I am saying and what my brain is telling me. So I need to find a truth, a mantra that is truthful, so that it all sort of hums with accuracy. So a really easy one for me is, I have always had what I needed. I have always had what I needed when I needed it. I have always been taken care of. I have never starved to death. I have never experienced extreme poverty. I have always been taken care of. It might not have showed up exactly like I wanted it to, but I have always been taken care of, and that is true. So in this moment where I am feeling fear, I know I will also be taken care of in this moment. That's a way to build a mantra. The next way you can manifest faster, you should be doing this every single morning. Hopefully you do it as part of your start today routine, but you can pull this in any time that you need it, and that is a gratitude meditation. You want to raise your vibration. There's no easier, more accessible way than allowing yourself to feel grateful for what is already in your life. When you notice all of the things that you have to be grateful for, the craziest thing happens. You find more things to be grateful for. That happens, one, because those things were already in your life and you weren't taking notice of them. And two, because you are raising your vibration, because now remember, we're attracting into our life. So we're attracting things to be great. You're like, God, that was such a great interaction with my teenager. I really love that. And then you find yourself having a similar interaction with someone else, with a friend or a barista or whatever. And you're like, wow, I always meet the nicest people. I always see like the cutest dogs, or I always see butterflies and birds. And lo and behold, I'm training my brain to notice the things that are pleasing to me. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal. My next piece of advice is prayer. Meditation is incredible. I grew up with prayer as a very central part of my life, and I think across a lot of religions and a lot of different cultures, prayer shows up as a really helpful tool, and it definitely is for me. Part of the reason I love it when it comes to manifesting is that a big key in bringing things to your life is not having any fear that they won't show up. The things that I want to attract into my life, it's like I throw them up in the air and I'm like, all right, God, you got these. Here, you know what I want. I'm going to keep my vibration high. I'm going to stay focused on this thing that I want, and I'm not going to worry about when it's going to show up because I trust that it will. But prayer is incredibly powerful. Hey, help me get through this situation at work, or help me find the right words to speak with my daughter, or help me do these things. There's a real humility in prayer. Even if there's nothing religious attached to it, I think that it's an incredible tool, and it absolutely plays a big part in what you bring into your life. Next piece of advice is write it down. Again, this is going to go, you're like, oh, this is like start today. Yeah, because I've just been doing the same things for so many years. It's why I'm going to keep giving you the same advice over and over. Don't get the start today journal, but write it down anywhere. Write it down in your own journal. Write it down on Post-its. Write it on the bathroom mirror in lipstick. Write down, like, affirm to yourself what you want and where you're going. Write it down so you can see it. Put it as a screensaver on your phone, as a screensaver on the computer. Make it so clear in your mind, yes, this is what we're doing. Make sure, this is not about writing it down, but this just popped in my head, so I want to say, make sure that you also have a visual of what it will look like when you get this thing. There's that old expression, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And if you've never seen someone in your family graduate from college, you might not know what that looks like. If you've never seen someone live debt-free or, get a camper van and go live out in the wilderness, if you've never seen someone living your dream, then you don't know what it will look like when you live that dream. And it really helps to have that visual. If you've got to go on YouTube, if you got to go on Pinterest, if you've got to go find someone who has done what you want to do or done something similar to what you want to do, and give yourself the visual aid. Write it down, have a picture of it. All right, the last piece of advice I'm going to give you about manifesting is another one of those that I have used as reference for a lot of different topics because it's real. Edit your friend group. You want to manifest faster? Look at who you hang out with. Whether those people love you desperately but have no vision, and so every time you talk about what you hope for, they knock it back down to size because they can't see it too, or maybe they're an incredible person, but they're just not the right kind of friend because they don't know how to meet you in a way that would make everything feel better. I have a friend who's very cut and dry, very straightforward. I know he means well, but just like gives it. That's probably not the friend that I'm going to talk to when I'm daydreaming, right? Because he's just going to be like very pragmatic, very black and white. That's not who I need in my corner for like, okay, where are we going and what are we going to do? Edit your friend group. You want to raise the level that you get to fly at, then you have to stop hanging out with people who can't fly at your level. Heard a preacher say one time, like, you're trying to soar with eagles, but you keep flying around at the level of the pigeons. There's a reason that different birds fly at different levels. A pigeon does not have the wing strength to soar at the level of an eagle. So if you're trying to be an eagle, stop hanging out with the pigeons, because I freaking guarantee you that the pigeons have way more energetic effect on you than you have on them. The reason I know this is true is because there are far less eagles in this world than there are pigeons. So when you go back to your friend group, when you hang out with your friends from high school, there's 4 of them and 1 of you. Who do you think has the most effect on the others? If you want to positively affect the people in your life, you're like, oh, but I love my cousin and I really want to rub off on them. If you want to change someone else, change yourself. When you start to stand in your own power, when you start to just claim who you are, to soar at that level, to get to that place, if that person has it in them, and they might not, but if that person has it in them, y'all, they are going to be so inspired by what you're doing. Not because you tried to force them, not because you tried to talk them into it, but because they see what is possible. Edit your friend group. The last thing I will say about manifesting faster, and this is just real, and this is like level 2 or level 3 that I didn't get in the beginning, and not everyone is gonna click into, but I want to say it because I know some of you will understand this. When I see the craziest, most miraculous, most unbelievable experiences manifest in my life, it is always situations where I had zero tension around whether or not they were going to happen. It is always when I just have absolute faith. And the interesting thing, I think, is that I don't have any timeline to when those things happen, but I just know that they will. I just know that they will. And I can feel such a peace in my spirit about like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about that at all, because that's for sure going to happen. I'm just sort of, again, I throw it up to the universe. Hey, universe, when you're ready for this, I'm ready for this. When I really get to the place of like not being attached, being excited but unattached, is when the craziest stuff happens. That's not something I would have been able to do years ago. I was still in that like trying to force things, salmon swimming upstream. But today I see the most incredible things occur, and they occur that fast when I really just have that energy of like not holding things too tightly. All right. There are a bunch more ideas plus links out to books in the PDF if you want to sign up for the Sunday email. The link is in the show notes. I appreciate you hanging out this long. This is clearly a subject I could talk about forever. And I know every time I try and take it on with you guys, I feel a bit long-winded because there's so much I want to share, but I just, at some point you have to like, okay, stop talking. They get it. If you have any other questions about this, or if there's a way I can take a deep dive that you think would be more helpful, please call into the hotline 737-400-4626 and let me know your thoughts. I will be back soon with more conversation. But until then, as always, I love you and I'm rooting for you. The Rachel Hollis podcast is produced by me, Rachel Hollis. It's edited by Andrew Weller and Jack Noble. There's a revolutionary bra brand so confident it will change your life, they let you wear it risk-free for 60 days. Evelyn and Bobby is changing the game with their patented wireless replacement designed to support, smooth, and flatter an inclusive range of bodies up to a K-cup. Wear it, wash it, put it to the test. If it's not the most comfortable, supportive, and flattering bra you've ever worn, you'll get your money back. No questions asked. Go to evelynbobby.com/Rachel for $20 off your first bra. It's time to play ball. My son has been working with his baseball team since the fall, and we are officially in baseball season. So if you're a mama like me and you got to stock up on all the sporting gear, now is the time. Academy Sports and Outdoors has the gear that you need, and you can bring it home for less. Gear up for baseball, softball, and t-ball with essentials from Easton, Rawlings, and Wilson at Academy. Academy offers free 1-hour in-store or curbside pickup if you're like me and you forgot to get the equipment in time. Swing by your local store or shop academy.com today and get ready to hit it out of the park.